They call me Diamond Dave, and full name Diamond Dave Whitaker, Whitaker. Well, I came from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I got here in 1957. One day I was I was in the high school library, and where I'd spend a lot of my time reading magazines, and there was an article. It said The Mature Bohemians. How interesting, by Kenneth Rexroth. And he talked about what he called the first Bohemian enclave. It was a ground where music and poetry and all of that was coming together in North Beach, San Francisco. So I read the article, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So when I found out by Kenneth Rexroth that all he had to do was come to San Francisco and it was happening there, poetry readings, all-night parties, poetry reading, all-night parties, pot smoking, all of that, I said, that's where I want to be. So I put my thumb out, and soon I was in San Francisco, walking up Grant Avenue, walking up Columbus, and he had mentioned St. Light's bookstore. And soon there I was standing in front of St. Light's bookstore. I made it. And there it was, this young bearded guy who was middle-aged to me, and he was putting copies of Howl back on the shelf. And so I walked in, I said, I just come to town, I've come to join North Beach, here I am. Well, he said, well, I'm Lawrence Ferlinghetti, welcome. I cast a wide net, I find that common thread, I let life flourish, and includes part and parcel of that wide net is poetry, and what poetry has meant to me in my life, the poets I've known, the places I've been, but so it is part of the woof and woof, the woof and woof of my life for sure. What I do and my spontaneous response to the world, and also from time to time when I do sit down and let a poetry come. As a man who always danced to my own drummer, as a man who was always kind of on the outside looking in of conventional society, just born that way, whether it's in the DNA or not, I don't know. Poetry was something of which I always thought highly of. My mother and my father really introduced poetry to me at a very early age. And even to this day, I can remember me sitting there, going to get the book. I must have been 5 or 6 years old, running to get the book, and I'd sit down and he'd read the poems to me. And so poetry came to me really early. Okay, poetry is the dance of life for me. Poetry is the warp and woof of existence for me. Poetry is the summing up. Poetry is the bringing together. The beat of life. Poetry is the self-expression. Not only what you're saying, but how you're saying it. So there it be. That's what poetry is to me.